Yeah, that was brutal to watch, wasn't it? I know, and I'm sorry. But just imagine how brutal it felt for me to not be able to get that. I had it at the cusp. I ripped it off the ground, but I couldn't even complete the lift. I couldn't lock out. So how did I get to that point? How did I screw that up? Was it me? Was it something else going on? But more on that later. This is my review of the 2017 RPS Jersey Rumble. It's my second ever powerlifting competition. I did last year's Rumble. That was my powerlifting debut. Held at Ramada Plaza in Newark, New Jersey. I competed in the 181-pound weight class for the first time, and in the Raw Modern division for RPS. I'll give you the link to RPS in the description box, by the way. And Raw Modern for that federation in particular, meaning you could do use either knee sleeves or knee wraps. So let's get this party started. Continue. I want to say really quick that it was so good to be there. It was really an absolute privilege to be around some people that I met last year again. It was good to run into some old mentors. It was such a great environment, and it really reminded me of why I love doing this and why I love this sport so much and why I respect it. There's so much of a brotherhood in the community, which is something I want to emphasize on this channel in the future, and I emphasize on my website. And I actually wrote about that on my latest blog post, and I'll leave the description for that down below. So go ahead and check that out, please, and I hope you enjoy it. So I woke up that morning and I weighed approximately 175.2 pounds, which was fine because I'm in the 181-pound division anyway.
Right there, that's a big breakfast in the making. Brown eggs, flank steak, English muffins, you can't go wrong. I'm gonna kill this today.
Try to do the rest of this outdoors. So what you just saw was taken from my Instagram feed. I had a nice big breakfast. Oh yeah, flank steak, eggs, English muffin, and that put about 4 pounds on me. By the time I got to the Ramada Plaza a few hours later, I was the first person weighed in, and I weighed in at 179.8, which is on the brink of 2 different weight classes, because if I were to go past 181 there, I'd be in the 198 division. I did not want that. I was in the 198 division last year, but I was in the middle of dropping a lot of water weight. I was 190 before I signed up for that competition, but it was not a good looking 190 at all. I had a lot of gall and I couldn't even fit into my jeans. So the weight I'm at now, I feel much better in, and I fit into my clothes, and it's all muscle anyway. So, and by the way, I'm not done with my fat loss. So I had a lot of time to kill, and I gotta tell you, man, watching the A session, the women and the juniors, wow, absolutely amazing. Just like last year too, absolutely amazing. It is incredible just to see them even trying. A lot of them, especially the women, were first timers. And seeing a woman deadlifting 245 pounds, that's a lot of weight for a woman. Some of you might not realize that, because women naturally do not carry as much muscle mass as men do. So it's a lot. Even 200 pounds is a lot. So a woman who doesn't look like she lifts much is lifting 245 pounds in a conventional style, not sumo. That's incredible. And good for them. Really good for them. I think last year my father told me that he saw someone totaling 990 pounds while we were waiting for my session to begin. That's the total. And I actually remember that now. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, After running into some great friends and enjoying watching the A session, I started warming up on the monolift, and for those of you who have never seen a monolift before, here's exactly what it looks like. Tell me that thing doesn't look awesome, and not just because of the alien green color either. I'm talking about how big it is. It is such a big contraption. It is like the hardcore badass equivalent of the old school Arthur Jones Nautilus multi-machines that you used to see in those. If you go on YouTube and you find those never released videos of Mike Menser and Boyer Coe doing chin-ups, that thing is amazing. So how it works is you need two people. One person squatting and the other person is holding the lever, because once the squatter removes the bar off the hooks, as if you were going to squat, the person operating it has to remove the hooks or turn them or pull them back, and then the person just squats. No walking out required. Squat, get back up, hooks go right back on. And by the way, that bar is 65 pounds because it's thicker. Not that it's wider. It's a little less wide, and it makes up for it in thickness. So you put that on your shoulder blades, it's not rolling off. Believe me when I tell you that. Believe me. So I began my squat attempts with purpose. Last year I was there just to have fun, and I sunk low, or rather I aimed low. I just went for my 1 rep maxes, and I was successful. I had 9 for 9 last year. This time I wanted to challenge myself. So my 1 rep max is 315 on squat, and I decided to go 15 pounds up more. So my attempts were 280, 305, and 330. And I was very successful with my first 2 attempts. And that's when I decided, yeah, I can go for 330. And I don't know if it was the pre-workout or the fact that I felt confident because I hit my squat opener. That's something Jim Wendler always spoke about. Make sure you hit your squat opener. If you don't, it's going to be really bad for your psyche. It's just going to bring your whole mood down. Because if you start bad, even if you end well, you're not thinking you're going to end well. Something to think about. So I decided, yeah, I felt confident enough. I'm waiting for him to load the bar, and I'm late with a concentration that I didn't have last time. I'm staring at. I'm looking like friggin' Doug Young in the 1977 IPF World Championships. I went on the bar and I started growling like I'm him, only his growl was 50 times more terrifying because it just sounds like a bear. And thankfully in the videos you can't hear it. So I get there, and what you see is right here.
You're looking at about 10 minutes. Any opener changes, please. Opener changes on flight 2.
Even if it looked smooth on camera, it didn't feel so smooth going up. I went a lot lower than I thought I was going to. And not that I dive bombed, of course, but I am 75% of the way up, and I felt myself stagnating, so I just screamed up. Some people might hear hear me screaming and thought that I was going, ah! Or being in pain or struggling, but I just yelled out, up. That's what you're hearing. And just like that, my brain was reminded of what I was trying to accomplish. And it was a good lift. All 3 green lights. Quick fun fact that I forgot to mention though. My second attempt for squatting this time and my second attempt for squatting last year's Jersey Rumble, both were only two green lights, not all 3. both second attempts. Such a weird coincidence. So squatting was great. I felt amazing. Then the problems kicked in. Bench press. I'm not posting any videos for bench press because my bench was god awful. Why is that? Oh, ever heard of bicep tendinopathy? It starts in the shoulder and it radiates down to the biceps. I actually had shoulder problems for months because my shoulder bag that I used to carry around, the strap broke, and because I wasn't able to get it fixed, I'm carrying it by a handle, and we were carrying a bunch of things including shaker cups and bottles of water in it to work every day. It's putting a lot of stress on the shoulders because that's the cause of bicep tendinopathy. Lots of stress of constant stress on the shoulder. There's constant stress on the shoulders. So alternating with both arms so you could avoid stressing out one shoulder completely. Both my shoulder joints were in pain, massive amounts of pain. What was worse was the day before the meet, I'm at a park with my students, and one of my kids asked me to play catch with him, and this kid's lucky I like it. I played with the football, and obviously to get a spiral going, you have to use more force, which puts more stress on the deltoid. So I went into that with a lot of pain. I'll just say my attempts were 150, 160, 170. Number one, it sucks being a long arm bencher, and even though I'm getting better at it, problem is my shoulders kind of limited what I can do, because when I got to 160 and accomplished it, I felt nervous. I felt weaker, my shoulders were hurting more, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to at least survive and do for my deadlift attempts, which I did. I'm coughing a lot because of my allergies. I'm going to go back inside and finish this. Here we are back inside, and that was brutal. So my final set was 170 pounds. I wanted it to be 180. Or rather, I should say my final attempt. But I had no choice. My bicep tendinopathy was really starting to kick in. My shoulders hurt so much, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to be healthy enough to do my deadlift attempts. So I brought 170 down to my chest. I was given the cue to bench, the command. I couldn't even lift it. And that bothered me a little bit, but I also knew I had an hour and a half or 2 hours at most to recover and relax, and that's what I did. I had a lot of food with sodium in it, because sodium is good for muscle contraction. Sodium is good for a lot of things, including retaining water in a good way, not a bad way as far as water weight and fat. I don't do anything with creatine. Creatine, they say, creatine retains water too, but if you really want creatine, just eat steak. Especially lean steaks, like lean cuts like flank steaks. So, after 2 hours, I started getting ready for deadlifts. I'm a conventional deadlifter. There's a lot of sumo deadlifters in powerlifting, and I understand why. I'm actually starting experimenting with sumo deadlift as of last night, because work is force times distance, and all you're trying to do is take the bar and get it from point A to point B. And I'm 5'10" and a half with long legs, so the range of motion, well, I could do it and I could pull off. It's hard. It's very taxing on the lower back. I get it done, but it's very taxing. That plus squatting is very taxing on my lower back. So my attempts were 355, 385, and 420. 385 was actually the last thing I squatted right before I stopped to get ready for the competition. And there's a video of that on my Instagram. I posted most of my workouts on my Instagram, and you can find the link to that down below. So here, by the way, is 385 pounds right now.
Good lift. 400 is next.
That scene of me lifting that 385 looks so good to me that I took a still shot of it and I made it the cover to my blog post of the meet, and I might make it the cover for the video for this just for giggles. So now I decided, I felt confident enough, I said, you know what, I can definitely do 420. I felt like I had the strength for it. So I had about maybe 15-20 minutes before my time was up because of the groups we were in. Flight 1, 2, and 3, I think, which was divided by weight classes. And since I was in the 181, my attempts were going to be done before everybody else's. So I get to 420, or rather, I get called out, and I get to the bar, and again, I'm concentrating. And you saw the video earlier. I have an ammonia cap. I'm sniffing it, and I don't even think it really did anything, by the way. I had a second bottle of a C4 pre-workout in me, and I felt like I had it, but apparently I didn't, because as you saw, I was able to get it off the ground, but I couldn't do much after that, could I? I was very distraught. After what went down, me hitching, and I dropped the bar, I was so distraught. I was angry. I felt violent. My girlfriend tried to console me, but I needed like 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes I just said, you know what, man, let me see the video, please, because she recorded all the videos, and I saw it right there before I even lifted the damn bar. I let my foreman get sloppy. As when you are, if you're a beginning deadlifter, your chest needs to be up and your butt and your hips need to be down as much as you can. Otherwise, you won't be able to get it. My hips shot up before I even brought the bar, before I even lifted the bar. My hips shot up. I was done. That was it. There was no way in hell I was going to be able to lock out, even if I did lift the bar, which I did do. So no one cheering up, up, up. You got this was going to help. And when I had a reunion in about 15 minutes later with Henri Skiba, he said the same thing. He said, your hips shot up. So that was it. My second red light attempt, and my total is 875. I was hoping to get in the 900s, like I said earlier, but it obviously wasn't going to happen. So where do I go from here? Well, first things first. I already said before, I have begun working on my deadlift technique, and I've actually begun to experiment with sumo. Because between the heavy squatting and doing a full range of motion conventional style deadlift, it is very taxing on my lower back. I also have been working out at 5 o'clock in the mornings most days, so I could have time to do things when I get home from work. So there, and my back is in a very different state early in the morning. You're a little bit weaker. You know, this isn't like doing a 10 a.m. workout. Big difference, trust me, because I've been trying to go past the minimum amount of reps since I'm doing 531, and I can't go past the minimum. Like, you could either go to the minimum the last set, or you could go for failure, and basically the minimum is failure, because that's what I'm doing. So that's the other thing. I've begun doing sumo, and while I've been doing 531 for the better part of 2 years, mostly for powerlifting purposes, I am now doing the much lauded, much praised, much critically acclaimed Boring But Big, which is pretty much a size program. You take, say, a big lift, and you do your 531 sets, which is basically 6 sets of training for strength. And then you take, 90% of your training max. And then you're taking 30, 40, 50, or 60% of your 1 rep max, depending on the lift. You do 5 sets of 10 of that, followed by 5 sets of 10 of an accessory work for the antagonist muscle or the opposing muscle. So if I'm doing overhead presses, I actually did a video of this. Actually, my last video was of this. If I'm doing overhead presses, I'll do my 531 sets. I'll do 5 for 10 of my 1 rep with 30% of my 1 rep max, or maybe even 50 what I'm doing right now. and then for 5x10, which is very taxing, and it's a lot more aerobic than anaerobic at one point. And then I'll do 5x10 of chin-ups to work your biceps in the arms and your lats. And I'm actually working my way up to 5 sets for the last accessory exercise because I'm just starting this. So I'm at 3 sets right now, but that's the point. I'm working on muscle because muscle equals strength. Muscle equals the ability to help you lift heavier, because I've been training, because strength is muscle, but I've been working strictly for power, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to work on something else, and I think it's helping me already. At least helping me with the muscle size. My arms are definitely thicker. So, having said that, do I want to compete again? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do I want to do one this year before the year ends? Abso-freaking-lutely. And that's why I'm doing Boring But Big, to help me develop some more muscularity so I could probably challenge myself and do better things. So I'm going to take the next several months, because I'm going to have summer vacation in less than 2 weeks. I'm going to work on my deadlift technique, whether or not I decide whether or not I want to stick with doing sumo or stick with doing conventional, because there's a big thing about range of motion. Range of motion, you cannot avoid range of motion. I don't care who you are, you must use all your range of motion. But there's a way to tweak your range of motion, like arching for bench press. For one, the other one will be whether or not you want to do conventional or sumo deadlift. Sumo deadlift reduces the amount of work. Work is force times distance. You're going from point A to point B. That's all you're trying to do. So if I could do little amount of work and take the stress off my back and lift heavier, I'll definitely give that a try. I have a couple options as for what I want to do. I might want to do something for RPS in October, which gives me a reason to go upstate for a few days in Albany. And I might also, it's going to be either that or I'm going to choose to do the Autumn Apocalypse in November at the Ramada Plaza Hotel again. After that, I might decide to try another Fed, or at least one that holds their meets in gyms, which means I won't be there for 8 hours. Either that, or I'm going to find a different handler, because my girlfriend lost her patience last time. I actually left about maybe half an hour before the actual meet ended, because she was there all day, and she had other stuff. She had other things to do in the morning. So that is the full cover of the full rundown of the RPS Jersey Rumble 2007. I had a lot of fun. I love this sport so much. I love the camaraderie. I love the brotherhood. And it's the one thing I live for. It really is. That's why I want to be a personal trainer so bad. And that's why I would love to one day. I know it's cliche. A lot of people are doing this these days. And hey, good for them. But I'd love to open up my own gym one day. That's actually a dream I had years ago, long before you started seeing people on YouTube actually getting it done. But that's a story for another time. So that's my spiel for now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe. More videos to come in a few weeks once I'm done for the summer. And Instagram down below. You can also find me on Tumblr. And thanks for watching. Let us be united in strength.